Hello everybody, it's Stewart A. Swerdlow back.
Really?
I am back, kissing the ground, and for expansions.com.
And Janet Diane Moya Swerdlow, just thrilled that he's finally home after all the drama.
Well, you know me, drama follows me wherever I go.
The drama queen.
No, king, not a queen. Anyway, it's a long story and I don't know where to begin. So I'll just begin at the beginning. When I left after the conference, and I went to New York for a bit to see my children and grandchildren, and that was very, very nice. And then I went to Moscow, which I always like being in Moscow because it's had really great. They had vodka from Siberia, which you can't get that here.
I wouldn't think so.
No. Then I went to Poland. And Poland I was all over Poland. I was in Warsaw, I was in Łódź, I was in Wrocław, I was in Poznan, all over the place. I did 3 TV shows in Wrocław, which I hope some of you have seen. And then I went to do my seminar in Poznan, which is a very nice city, over 1 million people. I did my lecture in the university. And, my book, Hyperspace Helper, is now in Polish. And believe it or not, people, this is the truth, I was told it's #1 bestseller in Poland. And the bookstores are selling them out as fast as they can get them in. They want to know who I am and why my book is #1. So thank you, Poland. It's the first country I was ever #1. So, and very soon, this book will also be available in German. And from there, they mentioned Spanish, Russian, and I don't know what else.
No, plus we have the sequel to that is going to be ready soon.
Yeah, and they want that. All my books will be in all these languages very, very soon. German will be first after Polish. In Poland, I was busy. I must have worked 12, 13 hours a day with no break, and quite amazing. And I had a great therapist who helped with remember I told you I hurt my arm in New York? I didn't? Yeah.
You probably wrote about in the blog.
Yeah, one of my grandsons asked me to move his bed, and I did, and my arm snapped, and so now I'm a freak, I'm deformed, but in Poland they really helped me, and a special thanks to Kamil, the therapist, for working on me, and he did a super job, and to Jarek and his wife Agnieszka for also taking care of me, sponsoring me, translating my books, making plans for the future. Thank you to both of them, and also getting a special ointment made up in Wrocław, actually, made of berberine and other things to put on my arm and heal it. It's like 85% better, and I'm very appreciative of so thank you Jarek and Agnieszka, and thank you Madeline for helping me and everything that you did for me. I'm very appreciative. Then I drove to Berlin. I did a seminar in Berlin and had a lot of consultations, and I thank also in Berlin another Agnieszka, and Jadwiga, and her partner. Thank you so much, Jadwiga, for your help, and Madeline again also, everybody that helped me in Berlin. But while I was in Berlin, I had a consultation and I met with a person who works in the German government, whose name I cannot mention, but who works near Angela Merkel. And I will tell you, this person confirmed to me that she is Hitler's daughter. This is known by the German government. He confirmed to me about Base 211 in Antarctica, in the Fourth Reich. This is known also by German government. And then he gave me information from the Reichstagsgebäude, which means the German office building, big building. And in there is this dome. This is the outside of it and how it looks. This is all the information that he gave me, and again, not allowed to say how he gave it to me, but that this is it. And this is the inside of the dome, and what do you see, people? A vortex. This is a vortex that was created by Angela and the German government to bring in astral energies from other dimensions. And underneath is where, underneath this vortex, and I'll show you this again. He gave me this. Underneath this, there's an office where Angela and her partners, meet and fill themselves with this astral energy brought in by this vortex. And this is, here's proof, people, right from the German government itself, and this informant that I met, who hope he's okay. But yes, this is absolutely true. Everything that I've told you is true and now has been confirmed by this person. From Germany, I hope I'm not leaving anything out from Germany, but then I went to Istanbul briefly and then to Singapore. And I'm very grateful to my sponsors there, Olga and Tatiana, and to the general manager and CEO of the Royal Plaza Hotel. And I thank him, Patrick Fiat, for all his help and giving me a fabulous, amazing room there. And then I took a ferry to Bintan, Indonesia. And there I stayed with some more Russian people who own the Sanchaya Resort, which is an amazing place. I recommend this to everybody to go visit Sanchaya Resort. And I met some Malaysian people who are building more resorts and have asked me to be their Western or European type guru in Bangkok and other places, which they want me to live there for 3 to 6 months out of the year. I think Janet is happy about that, but I'm not so thrilled being away in the heat for so long. But then, people, I went to Bali, and you know that story. By the way, in Bali, I met with very nice, wonderful people. Francis Fuller, who is the...
Are you supposed to tell
Yes, who is the in charge of the Asian part of the Young Essential Oils, and her husband, Stephen Shumelda. They were wonderful to me. I'm grateful for the great food they gave me, the tours of every place. And Stephen took me to the black volcanic beach in Bali, and across the beach was this island with a mountain.
Lombok Island.
Lombok Island. And I looked and there was this black haze over, and I thought, wow, must be storms coming in, because it was really the rainy season and it was been dry. Well, little did I know, those black clouds were volcanic ash. Well, that night, I went to the airport, arriving at about 7:30, and I look up at this, because in Bali airport there's a screen outside that tells you your flight number and all that before you go in. And I look up and it says, closed due to volcano. And I thought, oh, I wonder what flight that must be. And I look, and then I'm like, oh, they all say that. And then it says, airport closed. As I got there, at that minute, that's when it closed. Well, there was bedlam inside the airport, 12,000 people stranded, and no information. I have to say, you know, the Indonesian authorities give no information because they don't know anything. Now, I did a little video, which maybe you'll post eventually. You know, Bali, Indonesia is a Muslim, it's the largest Muslim country in the world with over 250 million people. But the island of Bali is 97% Hindu. So it's a little different situation, and they're very nice and very kind because they don't want karma to create bad situation in the next lifetime. So they're really very kind people, but they know nothing. You ask them anything, they don't know, they just pray. Anyway, people, I was stuck in Bali for several days. And every day they would slip a note under my door. Thank God they gave us a hotel. And they slip a note, your flight tomorrow. And tomorrow would come and it's closed and it's closed and it's closed. And I thought, and they said, oh, this is the worst eruption ever. Meanwhile, there's haze in the atmosphere, the ash is coming over, my eyes started burning, I still have sinus issues, not a good situation at all. And people were getting desperate to get out. And finally, they opened the airport, and thrilled to death about that. And they told us to be ready, to be at the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, so we get up at 3 in the morning. I was up anyway because I was so excited to get out of there. And the people think, oh, how wonderful that you're stuck in Bali. Well, no, because there's freaking volcanoes erupting, and it's 1,000,000 degrees with 1,000,000,000% humidity. You can't breathe, you can't go outside. The beaches are not nice in Bali, so you have to, if you're going to go in the water, you have to go in a pool. So no, it's not nice to be stuck there at all. And anyway, get to the airport, 4 o'clock in the morning, the line is out the door, no staff. Why did they tell us to go at 4 in the morning when nothing is there? And Janet, you tried several times to find out where I was, what's going on. They gave her false information. And I can't blame Qatar Airways for that, because the staff in Bali is not from Qatar Airways. They're airline, airport staff working on behalf of Qatar Airways. Anyway, so finally, after we get online, and they show up at 8 a.m., and my flight finally gets posted, then they checked us in. The computers were screwed up, so they had more supervisors come to say, but I didn't think it was a problem. But then finally I get on board, and I'm sitting on the plane, getting comfortable. I had my pink champagne, by the way. That was after an hour. Someone comes on the plane, authorities, and they ask me for my passport and my boarding pass. So I thought they're just checking, right? They walk away with my passport and my boarding pass. And then another lady comes on board, a supervisor, airport supervisor, and she says, oh, could you please come with me? I'm like, where are we going? And she kicks me to the door of the plane, and she steps up, she says, come. I said, why? She says, oh, we had computer problem, and by mistake you were booked on the next flight, only 1 hour after. Then we're already sitting there for an hour on the runway at the gate, and I said, I'm not leaving this plane. She said, oh, you have to go, you're not on. I said, do you have someone that's replacing me? No, then I'm not frickin' leaving. At that point, the flight attendants came over, and they wanted to know what's going on. And I said, hey, this is my birthday. I already missed my birthday at home. There's no one replacing me. I'm staying on this flight. And the head flight attendant said, I'll take care of this. And she said, they took our passports too. And she says, this plane can't leave unless everyone on board has a passport. So we will and this woman got off the plane, the flight attendant, went with the authorities to wherever they went. They were just too lazy to change me in the computer. They were just too lazy, and maybe they didn't know how to do it. And I said, well, I'm not leaving, and so this plane's going to stay here forever. Meanwhile, people, the ash cloud was coming back in, and everybody was worried that the ash cloud would come back, and then we would just be stuck there again. And we were already 3 hours waiting on, my flight was supposed to leave at 10 a.m., did not leave till 1.
And originally they told you 7 a.m. it was going to leave.
7 a.m. Yeah, that's why I had to be there freaking 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was there from 4 o'clock in the morning till 1 p.m.
No water, no food.
No food, no water, nothing. Bedlam at the airport. And you could see the haze, the ash was coming. And the Australian flights were all canceled anyway because the ash was south.
I think the Australians, they're
still stuck. They're still stuck.
Yeah, Australians cannot leave yet.
So anyway, finally get my passport back, and they must have said something to these people because the woman who's the head of the airport authority in Bali came to me and personally handed it. She said, my apologies, I'm so sorry, you can stay. I was like, yeah, thanks. I don't care if they shot me because I'm not getting off that plane. So I go back to my seat, and I'm very upset. And I said, I'm really upset now. And I sat down. Next thing, I'm surrounded by flight attendants who have 3 birthday cakes for me and a sign, Happy Birthday, Stewart. And they all start singing Happy Birthday to me. And then they give me a note, personally hand-signed and written by the whole crew of the flight. And of course, that made me feel a little bit better. And they gave me more champagne. Mm-hmm. So I felt a little bit better. So then we took off, and they announced that because we waited so long on the runway, and the flight crew had been diverted previously to Jakarta, that they were over their limit for how much they could work. So we had to be diverted to Chennai, India. That wasn't too bad. And then we were going to go.
But they didn't put anybody on or off.
No.
And did they bring in military people?
No.
No, you just stopped.
That was later.
You just stopped.
Yeah. And then we took off and we're heading towards Muscat, Oman, because they had to change crew. They said in Muscat, Oman. And after we get out of India, the pilot gets on and says, "Hello, everyone. Just to make your day a little more interesting, we've been diverted to Karachi, Pakistan." I was like, oh no, he did not just say Pakistan. And Karachi, where last year terrorists attacked the airport, killed the passengers and blew up the planes. That's a good place to stop, don't you think? And the flight attendants, who at this point were my friends, confided in me and said, "We don't want to go there. We want to go home to Qatar." Well, we finally landed in Karachi. It was supposed to be less than an hour. It was 2.5 hours. The army boarded the plane. The authorities boarded the plane. I'm like, if they take me off here, it's off with his head, you know. Anyway.
Did they check your passport, or they
No.
just walked up and down?
They just up and down, and then they put something, a barrier across the door so you couldn't get out.
Really?
Yeah, even though the
That's
doors were
interesting.
open. Yeah, but then the flight attendants had to leave, and they were very upset. And then new pilots came on, new flight attendants. But the original pilot, he sat in the business class, and I guess he had to go back to Qatar. Anyway, finally get out of Pakistan. And then they stopped again in Oman, I guess for refueling, because no one got on or off there. And then finally to Qatar. And in Qatar, they were very nice. They gave me my boarding pass, because they couldn't give me my boarding pass to Chicago because of computers were screwed
No,
up.
in Bali.
So then, finally, they gave me a hotel room. They gave me boarding. They escorted me with private driver downtown Doha, which I thought, this is really far from the airport. And, and then I get to the hotel and they said, well, we'll wake you up at 3:30 in the morning because you have to leave at 4 o'clock. Here's that 4 o'clock again. What the heck is that? So then I had to get up again, get in a private car that they took me alone. And I'm thinking, okay, what if this driver's like a terrorist and he's going to like drive me to some... Anyway, so I got back to the airport. I was the only one checking, only one at immigration, only one at security. How freaky is that? I mean, like, I was the only one. So then finally, I got to the then I went in the lounge and all that stuff, and finally, I went through security. We had to go through extra security because of the U.S. flight. And I finally made it back, people. So that's my long story, which if I heard this was going to happen, I never would have gone. And because of that, and I'm so late getting back home, I have to cancel my trip leaving this Tuesday, which I was supposed to go to South America and Spain. I just can't do it. I don't feel that well. My mind is...
Jolly.
Yeah. And the thought of going on another airplane again for like a next umpteen days, I can't do it. So, sorry all you people, wherever you are, I'm not seeing you. You come here.
Yeah. Well, we've got our January class coming up. And people want to hear more information, they'll come to January.
Yeah, in January I will discuss more details about what I learned in Berlin, what I learned in Poland, which is very interesting, and what I learned in Singapore and Indonesia. All very, very interesting, and I will tell the details at that time.
All right. So you still look very, very tired.
Oh, I hope I don't fall asleep during your news.
Well, I hope you have some interesting comments, because I have interesting stories.
Oh,
It's not nearly as interesting as yours, but I'm going to go fast because I have a lot of stories.
Okay, go.
And so if you want to know more information, you're going to have to look up the links. But I'm going to just start so we can move along. So for starters, there was somebody that posted on our website this morning about a mysterious light that went across the California sky. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was on the news.
It said sparking confusion, excitement, and fears. Look at this one, of alien invasion. Now that term has been being used a lot, so while you were gone, they're preparing and imprinting people.
I told you.
A Navy spokesman said no, it was just a projectile fired from a ballistic missile submarine known as the USS Kentucky.
Right, because they fire missiles over Los Angeles all the time.
Yeah. So anyway, Listen to this one. Now the next one on the front of AOL, listen to this. It says it's a beast storm.
Where?
It says rounds of rain, snow to slow travel in western U.S. into next week. A large storm is poised to roll into the west with rain, snow, and travel disruptions during the second week of November.
Oh, I'm surprised I'm not booked to go there.
Yeah. So, but the interesting thing is what they're calling it, you know, the beast. The beast storm, because that's what got my attention. That's why I went to this article, but in the article it says nothing about it, but in the headline on the front of AOL, it's beast storm. So they're imprinting you with that. And then now this one is going to really shock you when I tell you this, but NASA is saying that Antarctic ice may be growing after all.
Duh! How long have I been saying that?
And this is calling it a new study, which is suggesting Antarctica isn't shrinking after all, it's getting larger.
That's right.
And
There's
then-
no global warming.
No, and then listen to this one. They're saying, however, the sea level is rising and they don't know why.
It's full of crap. It is not rising.
Yeah, so anyway, I just thought it was interesting. Now, the other thing that was interesting about this story is that NASA says that this challenges the latest published findings from the UN's
Yeah.
Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So this makes me wonder if the U.S. isn't becoming worried about the power that the UN has over the U.S.
Well, too late to think about it now.
That's right, because they're saying that's why they're going to bring the U.S. down, because we have too much power. So watch that story.
By the way, nobody likes the U.S. anywhere.
We know that, and I don't blame them for what's going on. And then, of course, Mars continues to be in the news, and now there's a lot of stories going on about how that Mars used to be a habitable world, but is now a dead planet.
Yeah, where'd you hear that before?
Yeah, it says, let's see, like I said, I want to go through this quickly since we have so much. It just goes on to talk about how the atmosphere disappeared. Now listen to this. They're blaming it on the sun, and they're saying the atmosphere disappeared and any life that was there would have had to migrate under the surface.
How interesting.
They
Where'd you
don't,
hear that one too?
They don't go into any detail about that, but they just throw that one out there. So
Everything I've ever told you people is now in the news.
Yeah, and now scientists are saying that maybe we are the aliens and extraterrestrials will discover us. So we've been talking about that as well, how that we're alien to this planet. That's right. Jeb Bush is in the news via Donald Trump, who supposedly tweeted that Jeb Bush linked him, in his tweet, they were linking him to the Nazi party because he tweeted his picture, Jeb Bush's picture.
This is Trump did this?
Trump did this. In the top right corner of the image, there was a photo of the Bush family members next to a Nazi flag containing a swastika, and the text said, quote, in capitals, the Bush crime family.
This is from Trump.
This is from Trump.
This is making me think that Trump is being set up by Kuiper Belt agents.
That's possible. Well, anyway, they made him take the tweet down.
Yeah, but the damage is done, see?
Right, exactly.
It's already done.
Right,
I made a mistake, I'll take it down, but now everybody knows.
Exactly, it's like in courts. People will say things and they go, oh, it's not admissible, so they take it out, but the
But
jurors
you
have
already
heard
heard
it.
it already.
That's right. So it's still, I want to go back to his name, Donald Trump.
Trump card.
That's right. So I keep thinking about that.
And I met him many years ago, and he was
told
very
me.
nice.
Well, no, you didn't meet him. You ran into him.
Well, I actually crashed into Marlon Maples, and he was very nice about it, though.
Everybody that meets him behind the scenes that we've ever heard about talks about that he is nice person.
He actually asked me if I was okay.
Yeah. And a lot of the icons are just the opposite. And we've had people tell us those kind of stories. Anyway, and then the White House says that they are preparing, listen to this one, for catastrophic solar flares that could have devastating impact on the Earth. They are calling this space weather. That's a new one. They say especially the eastern half of the U.S. is vulnerable, and they say imagine large cities without power for a week, a month, or a year.
Oh, that won't happen.
No, but it's interesting that they're telling you that, because to me it sounds like space war. Okay, then there is a small town in Italy, let me see, it's in Calabria, the town is Cosenza, and they're claiming that the treasure of Visigoth King Alaric makes the, again, Nazi gold train, legend in Poland, pale in significance.
Yeah, I have information about that Nazi gold train, because it wasn't full of gold, and I'll talk about that.
In January?
Yep.
All right. Alaric, who is the ruler of the German Visigoths, invaded Italy, sacked Rome in 410, amassed a treasure of gold, silver, and precious stones. Now, these are very interesting details, so listen to this one. These included priceless priceless relics from the Holy Land, which had been stolen by the Romans during their conquest of Jerusalem. So guess what they're going to dig up? We don't know, but they're telling us they're going to dig up something. Then this fellow died in Cosenza, so he had a horde of his slaves divert the water from the Busento River, allowing them to dig a tomb large enough for Alaric, his horse, all of the treasure. Then once the tomb was completed, the river was returned to its original site.
That's a lot of work.
Yes, and I've been telling people about what's buried under the rivers and the waters and the dams.
Yeah, but how could they have the technology to do that back then?
Well,
that's even hard to do now.
They used slaves. But
think about that.
well, I know, but this is what I'm telling you is that I feel that this is how they're hiding a lot of things is with water. And then when they want to find things again, they lower it, they do whatever, and then they uncover it. Anyway, then Alaric's troops had all the slaves killed.
That was lovely.
Yeah, and
After all that work, just kill them.
And then it says, down the centuries, many treasure hunters have come to the town of 70,000 people. And listen to this one, because I keep bringing this one up. The Nazi connection again. They included a group of Nazi gold diggers sent there by SS overlord Heinrich Himmler, who was obsessed by the myths and legends of the ancient Huns. So I found that fascinating. And then we go on to Russia. Did you hear that the Russians are going to exhume Tsar Alexander III?
Why?
They want to, he's the grandfather of Nicholas II's children, so they want to take DNA samples and verify the identities of the two body remains that are believed to belong to the ill-fated Nicholas II's family.
They're the ones that my great-uncle murdered.
Supposedly. They're buried here. We remember we went to their tomb when we were in St. Petersburg.
And I was made to apologize to them, if you remember.
Anyway, it says the blood-stained clothes of Nicholas II's grandfather, Alexander II, who was assassinated in 1881, will also undergo DNA testing. And so this might, again, they might be trying to prove that these certain people never died and that they're still alive, and then they're going to find their ancestors
Well,
and
they're
set them up
trying
again.
to set up someone to be their new leader, descendant.
Yeah, they said that the exhumation and DNA testing is going to start the second half of November. And then in Wyoming, that there is a massive crack in the ground that suddenly appeared. And apparently this was discovered by hunting guides.
Huh, where?
They don't say where, but they said that according to the hunting guides, north central Wyoming, okay. According to hunting guides, a month ago the gaping hole was a small crack. And then they went back and the gash is approximately 150 feet wide, over 2,000
probably
feet
from magma underneath.
long. So that's huge. Now, of course, the Wyoming State Geological Survey said that it's due to groundwater.
Oh, bullshit.
So no groundwater makes this kind of a
No,
crack.
absolutely not. It's from the volcano.
Yeah.
And
Now,
I know about volcanoes.
we do. Now, this is also fascinating to me. This is about death rates rising in middle-aged whites.
Is that me?
The interesting thing about this is I've been talking about they're trying to create two classes, the upper class and the lower class. Well, how are you going to manage the lower class if you have history? So first of all, the old people are dying off. The middle-aged people are the ones who are now guiding the young people. So as we get rid of the middle-aged people, we're going to have a population more of young people who are easier to mind control. Now, they say here that suicides and deaths from drug overdose and alcohol abuse are being blamed. And again, no one is killing us, we're killing ourselves. We're being set up, we take the bait, and we die. It says that federal researchers have reported repeatedly on worrisome increases in death from suicides and drug overdoses. So, and then on to pot/marijuana. The medical uses, it says how those are popular, and I've never stopped saying, okay, yeah, there could be medical uses for it. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with doing things like this for supposedly recreational use. So here we have a list of issues that it says, yes, people can get addicted to marijuana. About 9% of cannabis users develop a dependence on the drug. The risk is higher for adolescents and heavy users. And then as you build up your tolerance, you need more, and then you have withdrawal symptoms who try to quit, along with acute paranoia and anxiety or panic attacks. Psychotic episodes, schizophrenia, increased severity of mental illness symptoms have been associated with pot use in the past.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Teenagers especially, harms their memory and...
Plus it destroys the chromosomes, so if they
Yes.
have children, they'll be freakies.
Yes, and I think we talked about that before, and also destroying the quality of sperm, which I reported on that maybe while you were gone. And now here's a story specifically for you.
What?
Proposed jet travel from New York City to London in 30 minutes.
So, sign me up.
It's a supersonic jet called the Screamer. Now this was...
Are you sure they weren't talking about me?
maybe they named it after you.
I'm not getting off this plane.
The concept comes from the Canadian engineer and inventor Charles Bombardier. Now can they make that one up?
They could call him Propeller.
Maybe,
Charles
the
Propeller.
Bombardier. Anyway, so it talks about the specs of this military aircraft, or the aircraft. Then they're saying that, it's only going to be used for military planes and drones. But he wants to test it on human transportation.
I'll go.
So my feeling is, of course, that they already have it. And then here's another one for you. And this has to do with your favorite place, Denpasar.
No.
Yes.
Don't even say it.
It's about sheep. Apparently, there was a cargo jet who was carrying 2,000 sheep in its cargo
In one
bay
jet?
in one jet. It was going from Sydney to Kuala Lumpur. And apparently the gas and the manure created a signal in the cockpit that said that the plane was on fire. So they stopped in Denpasar.
Bali.
Yep. And there was no problem. This was just last week.
Oh, sure they get out.
No. Anyway, it was Singapore Airlines.
Which is a good airline.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. And then we have ancient Irish trees being brought back to life. Now we're talking about, what was old is coming back. And they're actually called this title of this article, Jurassic Bark.
That's a really good name.
Yeah. And anyway, it says that Ireland's oldest trees are being revived as part of a global initiative to propagate the DNA of ancient woodland. The oak saplings have come via the Archangel Project, a worldwide effort to propagate the DNA of ancient forests from ancient Ireland to ancient Greece.
Why?
Oh, because they're trying to create another...
Ancient civilization.
That's right. Anyway, I thought that was very interesting. So you can read about that. And then we have in South Carolina, the rains have unearthed historic items.
Like what?
Like, let's see, pottery, boats, and a possible mammoth skeleton. And they're expecting more, and they're asking people, of course, to report it to authorities. And then they can report that in the news. But again, South Carolina, it continues to stay in the news.
That's where the Civil War will start again.
All right, then Google has hired the former director of National Institute of Mental Health. And they are saying, he's not discussing what it is, but they're saying there's going to be some kind of a wearable clothing that can track your moods and your language and reveal signs of anxiety, psychosis, and it says to help tackle suicide rates.
Well,
so,
I better not wear that clothes.
no, but apparently it's another way to monitor what people are and then say this is what you are, this is what you're going to do, blah, blah, so you have to do this, you have to do that. So anyway, they've got a lot of stuff planned for society, obviously. And now this one I put on here, I hadn't heard this term before, and so of course I like to make you aware of everything, but I've told you about, how women are going to be topless, and of course that's coming along the track. Ireland Baldwin, she's 20-year-old daughter of Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger. She was flashing her underboob.
What is that?
Well, apparently it's not the side boob, it's the underboob.
Oh, the under part.
Yeah, and of course I don't use that term boob because that has to do with,
Being stupid.
yeah. So I don't, but this is what they're calling it, so I'm just letting you know that now there's another term out there for you. And how to turn yourself into a cartoon. Now we talk a lot about programming and cartoons in our work, and again we'll be speaking about that in our January class. But this was interesting about Heidi Klum's Jessica Rabbit Halloween costume, which took her 8 months to prepare for and almost 11 hours to get into. And she turned herself into Jessica Rabbit. Isn't that? But I mean, it's just amazing what they did. It's just incredible what people are doing. And then on social media, of course, you can put your name in and turn yourself into a cartoon. Again, why? Let's not do that.
No, I know people do that with text instead of texting. They have a cartoon character speaking.
Yeah, it's programming and turning you into a buffoon. All right, and then we have a dragon's blood tree. Have you ever heard of that? The dragon's blood tree? Apparently now there is a...
Oh yeah, I have actually.
Have you?
Because they have it has like sap or something.
Yes, it's supposed to be a beauty cream thing.
Right.
So anyway, the reason I pulled this article was because of the name Dragon's Blood Tree. And then what was interesting, when they were advertising this product, the person who was talking about it said, quote, "We should all be worshiping this tree." So I thought that was interesting, tying in with the dragons, because it's so wonderful. Now, here's an article that I think everybody should pay big attention to, because I had done, I think, 3-day group fasting on my webinars with people. And, you know, science was saying you shouldn't fast because it ruins your system, blah, blah, blah. Now science is saying that fasting for 3 days can regenerate the entire immune system. And they said people of all ages, it was done again in the University of, guess where, South Carolina. They found this is a breakthrough of remarkable importance. I should just watch my webinar. It fires up the stem cells into producing new white blood cells which fight off infection. It says it can bring great benefit to people who are suffering from a damaged immune system and help them fight off disease. It flips a regenerative switch. When you starve, the system tries to save energy, and one of the things it can do is to save energy is to recycle a lot of the immune cells that are not needed, especially those that may be damaged. And I want to tell people that when you do my seminars, my webinars on the 3-day group fasting, we don't starve. And people are usually amazed that they don't starve, because we do the mental work right along with it. And so you're going to find out you don't get hungry during those 3 days. So anyway, and we also have those on the pay-per-view webinars if you're interested. Then the person who was in head of this study, a professor, said with a system heavily damaged by chemotherapy or aging, fasting cycles can generate literally a new immune system. So, one for me. And this I found interesting. This is about an autistic child, which they don't tell you he's autistic till the end of the article, but he's a 5-year-old. They're calling him a savant from LA who displays signs of being telepathic. He's already learning 7 languages, he does all kinds of math work, and so on and so forth.
Maybe I'm a savant.
Maybe you are. But I think you're older than 5. Anyway.
I think I'm 5.
Sometimes. Anyway, there's a researcher, Dr. Diane Powell, who's actually out of Oregon, the state of Oregon. And
like you.
Well, I spent time there, but technically I'm from Washington State. Anyway, she's suggesting that autistic children are telepathically linked to their mothers, because they don't have this gift of verbal communication, so therefore they're more telepathically linked. So
they're
she's
just more telepathic because they're dolphins.
Well, but they can't say that to start with. So again, I think this is an inference into that kind of a frequency. And so she's studying this, and she's going to bring this, forward, and we'll see what happens with it. But I think it has. I think they might start with autistic children, and then they're going to find out that people are telepathically linked, and so on and so forth. So, but they have to start somewhere. Now, we also talk a lot about the astral world, and like you brought up about bringing in the astral entities. This was a wedding photo about a young woman who took care of her sick son. The son unfortunately passed away, but wanted to be part of the wedding, so they took what they called his spirit and put it into the wedding pictures, which is really a touching thought, but again, it is imprinting us with that ghost/astral image. So that's why I brought that one forward. And I'm sure you haven't heard this about the Mormon Church.
What?
That they are making same-sex couples apostates.
I don't know what that means.
Apostate is a person who renounces their faith.
Renounces?
Their faith. So they're calling them apostates, and they're excluding the children from blessings and baptisms. And this is a new policy. And they're saying when the children turn 18, then if they disavow the practice of same-sex cohabitation or marriage and stop living within the household, which means basically they're renouncing their parents, then they may be able to be recognized by the Mormon Church. And it says normally they bless infants, enter them into the church records when they're born, and then they're baptized around the age of 8. So they're basically telling these people that if you renounce your family, you can be in the church. So it's like, who would want to do that? Mm-hmm. Tokyo is issuing Japan's first same-sex partner certificates. 2 Tokyo districts issued them, and they said that's a major step forward for gay couples in a nation which openly gay remains largely taboo. And
they just don't talk about it.
But it's there. It says everywhere. And then this was interesting because this was a transgender model named, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, Pechi D.
I don't know.
who came from Thailand in 2010. Now in Thailand, what do they call those males? Or he-she's or boys?
No,
something?
what they used to...
She-boys?
They would stop me on the street.
Yeah.
You want boy, you want girl, you want...
Something.
So lady boy? Or
Lady boy, maybe that's it.
something like that. They used to ask me. Of course, everything's illegal in Thailand,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. And also having sex with children in Thailand.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, this...
But you can't say anything about the king because they'll kill you.
Yeah, and I think you can't wear shorts there either.
No, and it's brutally hot.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought this was interesting, but this transgender model has now started a transgender agency, and apparently that's the hottest thing is a transgender model now. So she's doing quite well. Anyway, doing some of my research, I found some interesting stories. I'm just going to bring these forward. That there is a YouTube channel, and they call the show Taboo, which explores some of the different taboos within society and the gray area that exists between a man and a woman. So in this particular episode, it was interesting because they talked about the 5 sexes that are identified in Indonesia, I think it was.
Oh, don't even say Indonesia to me.
And that in Albania, some women swear off sex to gain equal status with men. And then in India, they also have a sex, or people that have no sex at all. And in some cultures, hermaphrodites are kind of revered as being something special. So, you know, it's just really in the Western world, I think, where we have this or that. And again, I don't have any issue as long as you are what you are. My issue is when they try to turn you into something you're not. That's my issue. In fact, I brought the book, The True Reality of Sexuality, that we wrote, I think, almost 10 years ago.
Like
and we
that.
talk about here about the intersex. We talk about basically just what they're trying to do with you through sexuality. We talk about programming in here. We have a lot of archetypes in here that have to do with that. And I think it's really important that it's not a matter of anything being right or wrong. It's who are you versus them telling you who you are. So keep that in mind. The next story is, now this is the girlfriend look. You know what that is?
No.
It's about men who dress like women.
Why?
Well, listen to this. Apparently, they're calling it gender bending. It's a new story, or new show by designer Jean-Paul Gaultier, opening in Paris. And then they say, is androgyny poised to go mainstream?
Well, that's the old news.
At a recent Gucci show in Milan, long-haired male models sauntered down the runway in chiffon and lace, bow blouses, and high-waisted flares. It was gender blurring as never seen before. And then it says, Gucci girls, meanwhile, walk the runway in boyish, geeky styles. Gucci's not alone. J.W. Anderson, Meadham Kirchhoff have also shown an interest in gender-fluid fashion. Saint Laurent, Prada, and Givenchy are some of the names whose recent menswear collections, now this is going to spoil your birthday presents. They
I have
have
a birthday present?
proffered skirts, high-heeled boots, chiffon blouses, and a general prevalence of pink for men. Boundaries are coming in other ways, transgender models becoming more and more popular, which we talked about.
It's old news.
For the devotedly fashion-conscious man, it is currently all about feminization. Okay, London department store Selfridges has opened up a new department called Agender, with merchandise by 15 different designers presented as unisex. Girlfriend dressing is not an easy look for the average guy to pull off. It's all about attitudes. If your attitude was better, you could wear this stuff.
Listen to me, that's not going to happen, okay? No one's going to do that.
Nicola Formicetta, creator of new unisex brand Nico Panda, a quirky line that includes ruffled boxing shorts, that's what I got you,
Thank you.
hoodies with tutu capes, one of those, and pastel fishnet dresses. Oh, it's ruined all for you.
Well, you'll be jealous because I look better than
That's
you.
probably true. It's for people who are free-spirited and want to have fun. But the only thing is, I did post something recently about the men playing the bagpipes in Scotland, and I thought I may have to rethink skirts for men because I do like a man in a kilt.
You do?
I do. So you have to wear
Without underwear?
You think? You said it. Okay. Now then, also there is a article called "Tips for Having a Safe and Proper Threesome," because I've been telling you that they're continuing to link up group sex, and this is on mainstream
Where do
news.
you get these stories?
Mainstream news. Where are you reading your news from? I'm getting
Bali.
mine from me. Okay, well I'm on mainstream news. Then this one got me. There's an app for sexual history because this is awkward for people to speak about their sexual history. I mean, you're going to go have sex with somebody, but you can't talk about it.
Who talks about that before they do it anyway?
Well, they said that they can just use an app. Now, biological babies for same-sex parents is now a possibility because now they're finding out how to create sperm and eggs from embryonic stem cells. So same-sex couples are going to be able to biologically reproduce.
But how can that be? Because you need, sperm and an egg.
But they're creating it from an embryonic stem cell. That's what they're claiming.
So,
It's maybe more like cloning. I don't know. But the research is going on, and so again, you want to know more, you're going to have to read the article, but it's out there. And now this one says women will choose artificial intelligence sex robots over men by 2025. And I've been saying this for a long time, that this is coming down the track where people will stop having sex with each other and they're going to have...
That was in that Woody Allen movie.
Really? When?
Where they had the orgasmatron.
Yeah, I don't like him because I think he's a pedophile, but go ahead.
No, you go into this thing and you close the door and you have sex with this machine and then you come out.
Okay, well that's what they're saying. Stuff like that is going to be more widespread. They said the high-income groups will be the first to use robot sex machines as early as 2025.
That's only like...
It's not very far
10
away.
years away.
And it won't, I bet you it'll be before then. It says it will overtake sex between humans fully by 2050. And they say initially people will find it difficult to adjust to this new sex activity, but will eventually become used to it. And they think the look and feel of robots will improve.
No, because in that way, you can't have children, so then you have to clone people, and then you have to get permission to clone, so the government controls all the reproduction.
Or artificial wombs, and also not only that, but you don't get close to a person. Remember what we talk about in here, that the act of sexuality is about the recreation of the God mind itself. So therefore, you can't develop any intimacy with anybody and understand these principles. So, there's a lot going on here. Dr. Helen Driscoll said in 50 years, normal human-to-human physical sex will be seen as primitive. And I believe that. As virtual reality becomes more realistic and immersive and is able to mimic and even improve on the experience of sex with a human partner.
So it'll just all be virtual.
Yes, that's what she says. They'll fall in love with their virtual partners. It is conceivable that many people will prefer this kind of sex than having to deal with a person. Why not? Let's be cold and calculating.
Yeah, because the machine isn't going to call it, you never called me.
Yeah, that's exactly. And you can go off to war, you can go
and
do
the
whatever
machine's
you
going to
want.
say, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, you're not going to have any family, you're not going to anything. It's just going to be you and the government. I mean, that will be your...
No more divorce, no more alimony, child support, no more.
Nothing. No attachment to anybody for any reason. And the last one is a little bit different, but I was talking about this last month on my blog. We were talking about money and how to get it and what it is. And it was a very fascinating topic, actually, the things that we got into. But with that said, I like to give out this website. It's called unclaimed.org.
Unclaimed?
Unclaimed.
Oh, unclaimed.
.org because, and this was an article actually written a couple of years ago, but I like to refer to it because it says that states, federal agencies, and other organizations collectively hold more than $58 billion in unclaimed cash and benefits. It comes from a variety of sources, including abandoned bank accounts, stock holdings, unclaimed life insurance payouts, forgotten pension benefits, and apparently a Connecticut resident claimed $32.8 million, which were proceeds from about $1 million shares of stock that were sold. So anyway, this is an interesting article. It is true. Every year I publish this on my blogs at least once or twice, and people find money there. I think the most anybody's ever told me is about $800, but that's a nice amount. I'd be happy with that. It says the money belongs to the owner in perpetuity. Even if the owner dies, then their heirs could come back and claim it. So this means, now this is in the U.S. I don't know what organizations there are, if any, for overseas, but in the U.S., you look at every state that you've lived in, you look at your heirs, you look at your relatives, and I have found people's names on there doing it this way, and alerted them that there was money waiting for them. So anyway, just check this out, unclaimed.org, and check for people that you know to see if they're on there, or like grandparents, cousins, people who passed away, aunts and uncles, because you could be entitled as one of their heirs. So With that said, it was a lot of news.
Yeah, you really talk a lot.
I do talk a lot, because I have a lot of news. I have a lot of good stories, so.
But anyway, I want, if I may, thank everybody who sent me birthday wishes and birthday cards. I didn't get a lot of presents like I asked.
Well, you weren't here to get them. I had to send them back.
No, you didn't. And I want to thank, should I mention Gemma? That she came to see me.
If you want.
Yeah, to Gemma Pierce from Wales, who I actually met in Bangkok many years ago, and happened to be in Bali while I was there, and came to see me for my birthday.
Yeah,
so it
that's
wasn't
very
for
nice.
Gemma. I had no birthday party. So thank you, Gemma, for that. And she gave me a present.
She did.
She did.
It was very nice. Yeah, she's an artist, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so if you're interested, Gemma Pierce has got some really great artwork available. And I want to remind people, about your, I think I told you about that, your CERN, Project Bluebeam, and Portal to Hell is getting close to 300,000 views on YouTube. So, I mean, it's just crazy.
Who'd have thought that?
Who'd have thought? But anyway, it's going crazy. It was from your Free Your Mind conference.
I know. Who said they're not inviting me back, by the way?
Yeah, well, that happens. But anyway, apparently that video is very popular.
Yeah, I'm too demanding of them. You know.
Maybe that's it. Anyway, so go to our Facebook page and like it, expansions. I don't know what it is, but it's just expansions on Facebook. If you look that up, you'll find us. And remember about our January class. It's coming right around the corner. It's unbelievable, but true.
It's still November.
It's about 6 weeks away, if you think about it.
No, it's not.
Well, no, actually 2 months, because we're about the middle of January we start. So, but you know what happens is people get through the holidays, and that can be a rough time.
You know that in Singapore, they already have Christmas decorations up in the street?
That doesn't surprise me.
It's the only place in Singapore.
Yeah, but I'm just telling
Even
you.
Europe doesn't have it.
It's here before you know it. Here in the U.S., of course, we have Thanksgiving first, the end of the month, and then we go into Christmas holidays and any other religion that you might be involved in. And then we have the New Year, and then people go, what do I do? Well, you know what? If you want to do something productive for yourself, come to our January class. We always have people from all over the world. It's always an amazing group. We have a lot of new information to give you. We always go through the basics.
Yeah, it'll be very different. I have a lot of new stuff this time.
Yeah.
It'll
But we
be a
get
whole
you
different
on the
class.
basics so that you know exactly where you're supposed to be when you leave. At the end of 1 week, you are set for the rest of the year. So anyway, January class, Hyperspace Oversoul, week-long extravaganza.
Oh, but you know what? And you just reminded me
yes.
that I forgot to thank in Berlin Rosina Kaiser for her translation.
Yes.
And to Stefan and Petra Maria for filming and interviewing me.
Yeah.
I appreciate all of that, so I want to say thank you to them.
Now we've had a lot of good support through this travels. All of you who send good wishes and positive energy to get Stewart home, because people are still stuck there. So thank
Yeah, they are.
goodness he made it home and he didn't get off the plane.
The plane stayed 1 more hour. That
Probably
would have been
wouldn't
it.
yeah. So anyway, we appreciate all of you and thank you so much for listening to us once again. Jana Diane Moria Swerdlow.
Yeah, and I need presents now to comfort me from my trauma. It was a very big ordeal.
And you have to give your name and say thank you.
What?
You have to give your name and say thank you. I said Jana Diane Moria Swerdlow. Now you have to say.
Stewart A. Swerdlow.
So they know who you are.
Thank you for helping me get out of Bali.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.